The first obese people who started to call healthy weight people skinny, it was not a compliment. It didn't mean healthy weight. One of the dictionary definitions, I can't remember which one, it might have been Webster, it's unattractively thin was one definition of the word skinny. Unfortunately, Whitney Holcomb has been demonetised and denied her appeal so far. This is an anti-fat acceptance, anti-health at every size, tips on how to lose weight successfully YouTuber. I wanted to make a strategic suggestion for a while to the community in general. I just didn't want to seem like the language police or seem like I was telling anyone what to do, and that's still not what I'm doing. I'm making a suggestion for the community, and I would love for people to engage, and if you disagree, please give me feedback. I'd love this to be like a discussion on where you think I might be wrong. I'm open to this, everything I'm about to say being wrong. Whitney has thanked people for giving suggestions to her. That's one reason I feel okay on saying this now, that she was asking for people's opinions and suggestions on how she can move forward. She's not the first person, but she is the first person I've seen it happen to where I predicted it for this specific reason. Her use of the word skinny. Ignore the costume changed. I filmed this over 2 days. This is what Whitney had to say when she was talking about the fact that she has stopped using certain words, including the S words. And this video is mostly actually not me really speaking to Whitney, because she's already not going to use that word anymore. This is actually for the community, as I said, because a lot of people are using this word, and it's fine to use it on YouTube if you're saying don't be the S word, or you're saying don't care about being the S word. But if you're saying it's good in any way, that it's something to strive for, because when you say it, you mean healthy weight, that's when you're in danger. So this is Whitney, where she mentions that she is not going to use it as much, but she's unhappy about it.
But it's also like, man, just tell me what exactly it is. Fine, if we have to play this game, okay. I know one of you mentioned like just rebranding and say like healthy girl tips or whatever. And yeah, I guess I can do that. I mean, I really did feel like I changed my language somewhat. I know that there are certain words I can't say. You know, it is what it is. It's just one of those things that like gets under my skin because it feels so unfair.
Fat acceptance is not happy when you use the word healthy weight. They love, I promise you, they say skinny. Fat acceptance, they love the word skinny and thin. They are the ones who made it mainstream to call healthy weight people those words, because those words didn't used to mean that. It used to mean underweight, and the dictionaries still show the original meaning. Just one example, very lean or thin, emaciated. Example given, a skinny little kitten. I've seen other examples, a skinny ill person. And the synonyms, very revealing, scrawny, gaunt, lank. All of these are negative words that mean underweight. But this is to show you what the original meaning was, and how the confusing thing for anyone who is not a native English speaker, which I've seen in comments, loads of comments from people who looked up words in dictionaries like this. Skinny means underweight, but you're saying that the fat people in this Jubilee debate are talking to are skinny. They don't look underweight. What is someone who doesn't even speak English as a first language? How are they supposed to navigate this? Synonym usage for the word thin. This is now the word thin. Thin, gaunt, lean, spare. Agree in referring to one having little flesh. So all these words, thin, gaunt, lean, and spare, shows how old this description must be, because no one uses the word spare to describe a body anymore. They all mean little flesh. Thin applies often to one in an unnaturally reduced state, as from sickness, overwork, lack of food, or the like. Example, a thin, dirty little waif. And if you don't know, a waif is like an old, a street child who's wandered off. When you go back into the history of it, from what I remember growing up, it was only ever obese people who called healthy weight people skinny or thin. The first obese people who started to call healthy weight people skinny, it was not a compliment. It didn't mean healthy weight. One of the dictionary definitions, I can't remember which one, it might have been Webster, it's unattractively thin was one definition of the word skinny. And it would be the equivalent back then, and this didn't last long, this phase, this is a transitional phase in the evolution of the word skinny, like when Anna people who call healthy weight people fat, you're not underweight, and if you're not underweight, you are in this category to me, and I'm going to call it fat. Well, how is that any different to what obese people did to the word skinny? Maybe your doctor says you're a healthy weight, but you're all like bags of bones to me. That was the intention at one point. There was another transitional phase, I remember, where it meant kind of like the equivalent of the French word maigrichon, a diminutive form of the word meg. It means you're underweight if you're called meg. Maigrichon is like the cutesy version of meg. It still actually means underweight, and so this is the next phase in the word skinny, which is a little underweight, but it's cute, it's fine. It's kind of like the equivalent of chubby, or what chubby used to mean. You use it when you're being like, you think it's quirky. Oh, they just don't like to eat much, they have a bird appetite. But the way they would use maigre, meaning underweight, is after the illness he became really skinny. An example of maigrichon, their cutesified version, would be, it's translated as the skinny young boy stood next to his more robust brothers. Do you see the different connotation, right? We don't have that distinction anymore. We have one word that's got at least 6 somewhat different meanings. The edges of where you consider skinny to begin and end is so different, but in all these different people. At one point, it went from, like maigrichon, you're a bit underweight. It went from that to meaning the way Whitney Holcomb uses it, to mean healthy weight and below. Basically, not overweight. I can tell from the way she's talked about it, certain things she said, underweight and healthy weight are both in the category of skinny. And one is just too skinny and the other is healthy skinny. That's the way she uses the word. And that's very common, or the slightly different version where it's basically including overweight and even class 1 obese as skinny because it's a social thing. They are using those words because they know, at least unconsciously, that it feeds into their narrative. It helps them out. It rhetorically, it helps persuade the listener. When you can make people not think about health, when you can make people think of it as purely a social thing, then all of this is pettiness, right? We're using a petty, silly social word that teenagers use. Doctors and scientists don't use the word skinny in scientific papers. It's not in their textbooks. They use the words healthy weight, underweight, overweight, obese. They might use the word thin in, as I said, a very few specific niche contexts. They never use the word skinny. To me, as long as people want to be a healthy weight, what does it matter if it's also aesthetically pleasing to them? Who cares, right? That's how I feel. But if you're using a word that is so tied just to like the social meaning, now they can point to it and say, see, those people don't really care about health. Even the word slim is better, but skinny, thin, these have potentially negative connotations because people think of them as trendy and teeny boppery and pop culture-y.
It makes sense, right? And I don't blame you. I think that wanting to be part of this thinness club is something that society is pushing us all into. And then
did you hear it? Thinness club. Society's pushing us all into it. I understand. She is talking to us like we are dumb bimbo brats who just want to be like trendy and cool and want to be in the club. That is what she wants people associating healthy weight with. If you're a healthy weight, she wants people to think that you are a dumb bimbo brat. In case you're thinking, well, maybe Jessica Torres was talking about underweight people when she said skinny or thin. No, she helpfully showed us what she means when she says the words skinny, and probably thin would be interchangeable for her as well. And it looks like this. This is not an underweight person that she cast in her little video here as a skinny person. So when she says skinny, she means people who look like this and presumably thinner than that as well. It's not just underweight that she's talking about. The stereotype, the trope of a dumb bimbo teenage girl she is invoking when she says, you want to be part of a thinness club, you don't have a brain cell in your head because you're just a dumb little bimbo, airhead, vapid. All these concepts are what the word skinny now, it brings to my head instantly because of the work of people like this. They have been doing it strategically, making people think of healthy weight, but not using that phrase, using words thin and skinny in association with all of these concepts. She just did it very blatantly there. The thinness club. If you're trying to aim for people who are leaving fat acceptance, you don't want to be feeding into that programming. I'm telling you how it hits me, and I was never in fat acceptance. I've just watched a lot of it, and it's not even just fat acceptance, to be fair. It's also just a role-playing cutesy, I want to be a skinty queen, oh, you're like my skinny queen, and that's fine. I see people doing that, and they're in anti-fat acceptance, so I know it doesn't mean anything bad. All I'm saying is you've got to bear in mind, okay, that is what's happened to the word skinny. That when you are in pro-fat acceptance, why is it that you doggedly only ever use the words thin and skinny? You will never use the word slim, because slim doesn't have any, there isn't really any way to make it negative. Skinny and thin, absolutely, because it historically meant underweight, so you can always tap into that historic meaning that many people still have in their memories. You can also tap into the meaning of it's just a trendy teeny boppery thing that's becoming more and more prominent, and you can use that then to make it sound terrible. And isn't it a silly vapid thing that people are losing weight, they're going from actually what they're talking about is obese to a healthy weight or overweight to a healthy weight, and they're making that sound like a terrible thing, and they're conflating the underweight with the healthy weight. They're putting us all in the same category, because you'll see videos like this Super skinny is back, and not all of it. I'm not saying every one of these videos that I'm going to show you is going to be like that. There's a whole mix here. I just typed in the word skinny into YouTube and looked at what came up. And some of these videos I have seen before, or at least the first part of them. And what some of these videos will do is they will show you underweight people, especially in the thumbnail. But then when you watch the whole video, it's overwhelmingly pictures and footage of people who are now a healthy weight, and they're lumping that all together. And so they're using that to their advantage. They're conflating it all and saying, look, I shocked you with the underweight picture, and now I'm going to show you all these healthy weight people, and I'm going to use the same word for both. So I'm them all in the same category, and I'm using exactly the same rhetoric about them. I'm saying, isn't this a horrible trend? It's a social trend, and it's a beauty thing. It's all about beauty, and it's dumb bimbos who want to, on it. That is the, okay, they're not saying that. That is, to me, is the subtext of, if you notice how Jessica Torres, if you watch that Instagram post, she is putting you down if you watch the whole thing. And there is an element of that in all these videos. It's like, you don't want to be like one of these silly bimbos. You don't want to, you want to be an intelligent girl. You don't want to be a dumb bimbo girl. Bimbos want to be, want to be a healthy weight is what they're not saying. What they're saying is, regardless of what your goal weight is, it's all the same thing, really, because they are telling you it's the same. Yeah, you'll when you watch the video, they're not just talking about underweight. In some cases, not all cases, some people are actually just talking about the few, but others are absolutely trying to make it seem like a terrible thing that not everyone is obese still, and that some people are going to a healthy weight, even just getting closer to one, and they're not even at a healthy weight yet. Why is everyone trying to be skinny again? I'm sorry, what are you talking about? And if they're talking about celebrities, it's still only like 4 celebrities who might be underweight this year, but they won't say healthy weight hacks and healthy weight privilege. Why would she never say healthy weight hacks and healthy weight privilege in the thumbnail? When she's trying to scare you about this. Honestly, Skinny Talk, the vast majority of it was just telling you the normal healthy weight tips. It's just that they were scaremongering on the word skinny. They weaponized the fact that people used that word skinny because they know there are many older people who remember when it meant underweight, exclusively underweight. It actually means underweight and healthy weight, and you don't know what these people are meaning, which is actually true. I don't know for sure what anyone means. I have to look for so many context clues and how they're using the word. Greg Doucette here, he's got a thumbnail of a skinny guy, just train harder, and look at the image he's showing. That is what skinny actually used to mean. That's the old definition, and Greg is an older gentleman from Canada. In his generation, skinny meant underweight. And then other times I have seen him, though, that same guy, Greg Doucette, I've also seen him divide everyone into either fat or skinny. When he says, do you want to be fat or skinny? I'm like, hang on a minute. Same person in a different video can actually seemingly use the word in 2 different ways, perhaps because there are so many different meanings now that it depends on which meaning you last heard, and that will prime your brain. I don't know. I don't know how to, and it does make it more confusing. For the pro-fat acceptance people, they love the ambiguity. They love that people can't work it out because it makes it easier to use rhetoric to persuade people in misleading ways. By using tricks of language, they can lure you into conflating things that should not be conflated, like underweight and healthy weight, and they're making you not think of it in terms of health by triggering a word that's got all these social connotations instead. It's all like persuasive tactics, and I know if you're using that word, it's not usually because you're trying to do that, but it is accidentally helping them. Skinny gone wrong. So what does skinny gone wrong mean? Presumably, she thinks skinny includes healthy weight, otherwise she wouldn't say it's gone wrong. She means like it can be good and it can also go wrong. Would you make one word for both healthy weight and overweight and then say, oh no, not underweight gone wrong? Oh, isn't it? Wouldn't it be bad if you tried to be not underweight and it went wrong? That would be such a weird video to make, first of all. People would be saying, why are you trying to scare underweight people into not becoming healthy weight in case it goes wrong? That's such a toxic message, But the other way around, it flies under the radar, and a big reason is because the word skinny, it allows them to fly under the radar. Liv Smith, in her thumbnails now, uses the I, and in her Skinny Society, it's got an I in it. That makes it sound cool when you misspell something, and I know she's doing it to avoid the flag. It wasn't even her fault that she had to start doing that. But the unfortunate side effect is it's even more made it into sounding like a cool, trendy club thing, because now you're spelling it in that's kind of a rebellious teen thing, is to misspell something and it makes it cooler, right? Well, that's what it now looks like the word skinny has had done to it. That is inevitably going to affect how people's brains react to the word skinny, just the regular word skinny. You might be using it in a perfectly serious and responsible context. Like you might be Whitney Holcomb telling people to be a healthy weight, and you're interchangeably, like you're going between, sometimes you're saying the word healthy weight, sometimes you're saying the word skinny, like she does. But the problem is, that every time you use that word skinny, it is triggering in someone's brain all those associations that have been formed up around it. And this one's going back decades, like the skinny, I remember the skinny bitch thing on merchandise that we would buy in the 2000s, I can remember, and it's got all like these social tropes and social dynamics around it. And it's like, why would you want to invoke that every time you speak about this serious subject when that is what the other side wants? They love it. They celebrate every time a healthy weight person refers to themselves as skinny. In my opinion, I think they love it, and I think every time a healthy weight person calls themselves healthy weight, think of this if nothing else. You are pissing them off. If that might be all you need to hear. Every time you call it healthy weight instead of skinny or thin, you massively piss off and potentially trigger the hell out of all these pro-fat acceptance people who are ultimately, they are the exact equivalent of pro AN, the people who like Anna, the people who are friends with Anna, like the people who push that. It's the same shit. So I enjoy pissing both of those groups off because I think they're both terrible. And yeah, so just the fact that every time I say I'm a healthy weight, it pisses them off. That's all I need. I don't even need all of this video that I just made to convince me.